All right, in today's lesson, we are going to be talking about volume. Specifically, we're going to be talking about volume of prisms and cylinders. All right, so first of all, what exactly is volume? Well, volume is defined as a measure of the number of cubic units needed to fill the space inside an object. The formula for finding the volume of objects depends on what type of object you are using. So basically it's just how much stuff is inside of a 3D object. So before we begin, we're just going to go through and we're going to review all of our different um, 3D shapes we have here. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to do a little matching game. So this first shape right here, we know because it has a base of a rectangle and both the bottom and the top are rectangles, we know it's going to be a prism and that it's going to be a rectangular prism. All right, this one we know because it's has a square bottom and it has 6 squares on it. We know it's automatically going to be a cube. All right, this next one, because it has a top and bottom, or the two bases of this particular shape are circles, we know that it's going to be a cylinder. All right, the next one is we know that even though it has a pentagon for a base, because it comes to one vertex at the very top, one point at the very top, we know that it's a pyramid. More specifically, it would be a pentagonal pyramid, but pyramid works for this particular exercise. All right, and then the last one we know is going to be a cone. It looks exactly like an ice cream cone. It has a circle for a base, and then it goes up into a one vertex or a point at the very top. All right, so now that we've reviewed our 3D shapes and we've gone over what exactly is volume, we're going to dive right in and do some examples. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the volume of a cube. All right, cubes are really easy to find the volume of, mainly because you're dealing with one measurement over and over and over again. All right, so in this first example, we know that this side right here is 3 inches. Well, you know that with cubes that all the sides are 3 inches. So this is going to be 3, this is going to be 3, this is going to be 3, and so on and so forth. Now, when you're thinking about volume, I always like to think about it in terms of the area of a base times the height. So whenever I think of volume, I think of the area of a base, which I'm going to write as a big B, times the height. All right, you can get more specific with every prism or cylinder that you're working with, and they have specific things like this one, specific formulas that you can use. However, I like to just memorize one formula and use it over and over again. So that's why I think about it in terms of the area of a base times the height. So for example, with this one, the area of the base here is 3 times 3, so that's 9, times my height, and which is 3, so 9 times 27 would be, or 9 times 3 would be 27. All right, and it is inches, so it's going to be inches cubed. We always cube our volume. Okay. Now, if you were to use it in this particular formula they have up here, you would just do 3, because that's the length of the side, to the third power, which would then be 3 times 3 times 3, which would also equal 27. So it's however you feel most comfortable solving this, um, is how you want to do it. Okay. So if you want to add, or if you want to do this one as a practice for me in your whisk, that would be awesome. This one's really easy. It's got a side length of 8. All right. All right, so from here we're going to move on to the volume of a rectangular prism. This one is it's a really similar one to the cube, except that instead of working with one number, you're working with more than one number. Um, to be more specific, you're working with 3. All right, you can think about it again in my terms of volume equals base times height, which if you were to break down this formula that they give you, which is volume equals length times width times height, you know that length times width is in fact the area of a base. So I'm going to do 3 times 6, and I'm going to get 18 for my base, and then I'm going to multiply it by my height, which is going to be 4. So then 18 times 4, which is 72, and we know it's centimeters, and we cube it. All right. So then we go through here and we think about it this way. We can also think about it in terms of what they do, which is just 6 times 3 times 4, which is basically what we did. We just broke it down in a different way. All right. So if you can do this next rectangular prism for me in your whisk, that would be great. All right. All right. So last but not least, we are going to talk about how to find the volume of a cylinder. The volume of a cylinder is pretty easy. It just involves knowing how to find the area of a base, which is where going back to my base times height idea, and we know that how to find the area of a circle, which is pi r squared, which is also my area of my base, and then I'm going to multiply it by my height. All right, so let's do this first example here. So this one has a radius of 3, and we need to do 3 squared times pi, or 3.14, times my height, which is 12. All right, so then I'm going to get 9 because that's 3 squared. And then I'm just going to do 3.14 real quick times 12. And that is 37.68. Multiply that by 9. And I get 300. 339.12. And again, it's inches, and that would be inches cubed. All right, so please do this next one in your whisk tonight. Otherwise, that's all I have for you today. Please make sure that you come to class with any questions or comments, and you can also add these examples into your 3D shape book if you have that available to you. Otherwise, that's all I've got for you. Have a good evening, guys.